So Garou is becoming more and more interesting as time goes on, and he hasn't had a lot of time in the show, but this episode is about Garou. And I gotta tell you, this guy is a freaking monster, or more specifically, a human trying to become a monster. And he really freaking shows off his skill. And I loved how, because when he's introduced, you think, okay, this guy is seems unstoppable. But this episode shows you that, he's not necessarily unstoppable, but he is freaking up there, like S-Class top 10 at least, and we'll get into some of his fights in a second, but we start the episode off with Silver Fang in his dojo basically kicking out Charanko because he's saying that he's not good enough and everything like that, but of course we learn that he's doing it for his own good because Silver Fang knows that Garou is on his way, like the hero killer, and we'll get into the hero killer part in a second if I remember, but Garou turns out to be Silver Fang's disciple, and this is the moment I said, okay, I had already noticed that they have similar hairstyle. Is Garou like Silver Fang's son or relation in some aspect? Very interesting stuff. So then we get the moment I have been waiting for all of my life, even though I've never read the manga, is Moomin Rider versus Garou. And the second Moomin Rider shows up, he's gonna get his ass handed to him. And he does, because, that's what Moomin Rider is. He's like the underdog. He knows he doesn't stand a chance, but he is the epitome of heroism, putting himself in danger even though he doesn't stand a chance for the betterment or safety of others. But Garou mentions that he wants to go into the complete evolution into becoming a monster. Now, this is his goal. He's not interested in being a hero. He thinks that the villains are more interesting, as is noted when he's talking to that little kid on the bench. And he's like, this is a cool almanac. I like the villains more than the heroes. So I thought that was very interesting, and I liked how this episode really built up Garou's character and really went a little bit more in depth with him, and I think we needed that. So we get into this big highlights of this episode. This scene, I really enjoyed the whole Tank Top clan and Tank Top Master, because you think, from last season we saw Tank Top Black Hole and Tank Top Tiger, and they were C-class heroes or something like that, and they were just kind of fleas to Saitama. So you think that these guys are gonna be low C-class warriors, but then this freaking S-class Tank Top Master comes in and just starts whooping the crap out of Garou. Oh my god, this scene was awesome. And speaking of, I should give you a little bit of context for how my perspective into going into these reviews is that I'm not comparing it to season 1 because that is an impossible task. The animation is not going to be as good as that. So what I'm doing is I'm taking this show and comparing it to other anime or the bit larger scope of anime in general. So with that being said, this animation has been very mediocre, and there is a lot of stills, especially in this episode, that I noticed that looked very wonky and very derp-facey, if you will. But that being said, there are moments and shots here and there of really cool looking animation and actual movement. From what I remember of last episode, there was a lot of, during Genos's fight, there was a lot of stills and kind of video effects going on to give you the illusion of animation. And there's still a lot of that in here, and I'll get to one of those things that bothered me in a second. But this scene of Tank Top Master fighting Garou, there was a specific shot where Tank Top Master is going up to Garou and he crashes on the ground. Garou's kind of wobbling a little bit, and I thought that was pretty good. It looked fairly fluid to me, at least compared to the other episodes. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that this animation is still bad? I think it's still mediocre with these few instances of really good looking stuff. Now, of course, this is my just initial thoughts, so of course my mind could change after thinking about it a little bit, but at least for now, I think it was pretty awesome. And I think the sound design really helped to intensify the impacts of each hit and everything. But of course, Tank Top Master is beating the crap out of Garou, and Garou's like, okay, I'm gonna use this technique, and it looked a lot like Silver Fang's technique. I forgot what it was called, but that was incredible. Like, I mean, of course you know that Tank Top Master isn't gonna defeat Garou, like the main villain of this arc, but when Garou was using that technique, I felt like that was a really good opportunity to utilize that good movement and animation, but instead they used this blur effect like they did with Genos's rocket punch technique, his million punch, whatever it's called. But they use this blur effect instead of actual movement, and it really takes it out because it's just like clouds up and muddies up the image. But it was still pretty cool nonetheless. And of course, Garou annihilates Moomin Rider and all of the tank tops, and, you know, as we knew he would, and that is badass. That's super good at building up his character and his intensity, and that builds up to the ending of the episode, which we'll get into in a second. Now we cut to Saitama in the hospital, and he's just like being the nicest guy, offering everybody a banana, and I thought that was pretty humorous. And I thought that was a nice little scene of Saitama, like visiting his hero buds and offering them bananas to help them, you know, feel better about what they've been through. So we get Garou and this kid in the park, and this is actually a really interesting scene because, you know, this kid may be in danger, but you realize that Garou isn't interested in regular civilians. He's not going to attack or hurt anybody. At least as for now, he's not going to hurt anybody that's not a hero. I think it shows in this episode that he's really only interested in heroes. And he's hunting down heroes, and, you know, like the hero killer Stain from My Hero Academia. But which one came first? Did Garou come first, or did hero killer Stain come first? I don't know. So Taranko gives Saitama an entrance slip to join the martial arts tournament, and Saitama's like, oh, it's like $1 million if I win, huh? And he's like, you can't go in my place. So that was pretty funny. I'm wondering if anything's gonna come of that. But we get Golden Ball versus Garou, and of course we've seen Golden Ball versus the seaweed creature in season 1. That was an awesome scene, and we get another awesome scene here, and I think the animation was pretty good in this scene, especially showing the golden balls going all over the place. Of course, you got that blur effect, which bothers me a little bit, but I think the animation compared to episode 1 and 2, from what I remember, is pretty good. And of course, season 1 showed off Golden Ball as being a badass, and also Mustache as being a badass too, and then these guys are teaming up again against Garou, and they are being a badass together. And what's interesting is that you see Garou as being such a powerful dude, and now he's going up against these like higher ranked heroes. I think Golden Ball and Mustache are A-class, but he's going up against these guys, and they're actually scratching him. They're like making a dent, but they still don't stand a chance. But it shows that Garou is still vulnerable, and he's not like Saitama level or something like that, you know? And we see that at the end when he finally meets Saitama for the first time. Now, this is very interesting. Part of me at first thought, okay, maybe you should have waited to do this until a little bit later, but I think that this scene with Garou just chopping Saitama, and you see the intensity of the concrete breaking under Saitama's just like a freaking board, and Garou just like hammered the board into the floor. And then Saitama's like, hey, you know, get out of my way, I'm gonna go shopping or whatever he was doing. But I think that this scene was important to give Garou even more motivation. I think going forward, he's going to have a lot more motivation and possibly a hatred for Saitama. And Saitama's going to be his like peak goal to strive for when he's going and hunting down on all these heroes, but now he has that extra motivation to become even stronger and stronger and stronger and more skilled, so that he can one day fight Saitama in an even playing field. And I'm wondering if Garou is actually going to somehow, I know this might sound ridiculous, but unlock some sort of transformation and actually become a monster, a physical monster, and fight one-on-one with Saitama. Of Of course, I don't read the manga, so if you're going to comment in the comments below, please leave spoilers out of it. What are your thoughts on this episode? That I guess that pretty much sums up what I think. But of course, drop your thought waves down in the comments below. As always, thank you very much for watching and take it easy.